Greetings everyone, I am Ishmam Suhrawardy from Physics Department. Today, I would love to talk about Act Utilitarianism given by Jeremy Bentham. Now, Jeremy Bentham talks about this Act Utilitarianism using consequences. Now, how I mean consequences? When we do an act, the act will be determined as good or bad according to its results. Now, what do you mean? How do we decide if the results are perfect? For that, Bentham introduced hedonic calculus, which comprises with some parameters which determines if the act is good and bad. Now, I guess this talking or discussion or maybe presentation, however you think, is not just about Bentham's idea. I have some things to say too. Now, as a physics student, I think most of the things with maths. So to do that, I have introduced a graph. And now I will talk with this graph about one case and speak if Bentham's idea is good and successful or it has some errors which might cost a little or maybe a big. Let the hedonic calculus choose that. Let's talk about our case. What is the case? Our case is COVID-19. In COVID-19, we had lockdowns. In lockdowns, what happened? We were locked into our house, we had economic crisis, and we suffered from mental stress, anxiety, and social stress. So, how we looked into it with Bentham's idea? Bentham talked about the result. In the result, we saw that the spreading of COVID was a bit slowed down, stopped with this idea of lockdown. Now, what is this graph doing here? There may be a question, what is this graph doing here? Well, when I do a lab experiment, I take readings such as A, B, P, Q. But I look for the result A, B. Now, in my result, P and Q might come in this line, not here, because I am looking for a line here, which will cut through this, or may not. Now, enough talk about the experiment. Now, what's Bentham's idea's relation with this? Bentham talked about the result, not the steps. So P and Q are like this economic crisis and mental distress. Other than that, there may be other troubles, but for now, let's consider P and Q as those sets of trouble, and A and B is our result, which we are looking for. Lockdown. Okay? Now, in this lockdown, what happened? In this graph, accordingly, we are looking for some answers about what happened. Now, say, in this graph, we have got the result which Bentham told us about, but there are errors here, like these stresses. It means the consequentialist idea is right, is justified accordingly when the situation is like that. But can we say that we have handled the situation perfectly? Because Bentham's idea justifies it, doesn't mean that our implementation was successful. And that is, I feel, the error of Bentham's idea. He could not tell us with his principle that the idea is 100% perfect or not. We can only reach close to the perfection. And that is, I feel, the error of Bentham's idea in the talk of my theories of physics, how I do labs, how I do graphs. Thank you everyone for being with me. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ifrat Rohan, and I am an aspiring computer science engineer currently pursuing my undergraduate degree at the Prague School of Data Sciences. Today, I want to talk to you about a topic that resonates deeply within the realm of technology and ethics, act utilitarianism, as it applies to our development and deployment of technology in society. Indeed, this is the power we now have in our advanced, continuously changing world, especially in terms of the whole field of data sciences and computer engineering. We design systems that analyze thousands of data, optimize processes, and in some cases, even make critical decisions that are directly impacting lives. Yet the power has an equally great responsibility. The very core question that we face is, how do we align technology with the betterment of society as a whole? Act utilitarianism, like any other ethical system, bases its recommendation on that premise. Since every action has its effect, act utilitarianism requires determination of regarding nature of effects concerning every act. That principle of this system is that well-being must be maximized and suffering must be minimized for all in considering policy-related choices. Think of a health app that applies algorithms for patient prioritization dependent on their needs, which become on for act utilitarianism application in our technology. This might sound good as it may bring happiness for the greatest number of people, greatest good for the greatest number of people. But at the same point, we should exercise caution. These matters that priorities in this app we should set it fairly, because in this app, if anyone submits anything wrong, then the app may show up wrong things and prioritize them in a wrong way. Then the state we have taken to maximize the happiness for the greatest number of individuals will fail, and then it will bring just pain to the maximum number of people. And this is where the dilemma takes over our ideas. So in every cases like this in every cases, just utilitarianism isn't enough because of the dilemmas. uh, Basic utilitarianism principles and mixed up with basic moral rules can find a greater and can find a way of a greater good, way of a greater good. I remind you that this is journey of ours, which takes us into data and technology. Nothing we do is in a vacuum. These are all tools which will reach into the future, and what we create is thus very important. Let us embrace act utilitarian principles, but blend them with strong moral rules. That way, we can make sure we are not just engineers but responsible architects of a better, more, and equitable world. Thank you, everyone.
Hello everyone, my name is Rohan, and today I'm going to have a discussion about utilitarianism, act and quantity. My main perspective will be Jeremy Bentham's theorem. I will give you a description about how COVID-19's the condition or situation that the government make. I will describe it from Jeremy Bentham's perspective, and as a physicist, a physics student, I will give also my perspective on overall the thing that we see from 2 years lockdown. What will be the cost and dilemma in this perspective? So, so according to Jeremy Bentham's theorem, uh, an act that gives us maximum happiness or benefit in long run called called an utilitarianism, and it's proposed by Jeremy Bentham. uh, According to Jeremy Bentham, it's okay to have a long run happiness rather than a short term happiness. So if we see from the government perspective, we saw in when the first COVID-19 started, they provide lockdown, they provide all shutdown. No humans can come from his house or job perspective. All things gone. So if you think that it's the good things for a long run, because not a big number, a massive number of people will get affected. But if you think is more insightfully, you'll find out that as Bangladesh, first I have to give you a perspective from Bangladesh. Bangladesh are mainly, maximum number of Bangladeshi people are middle class family. So their income are like day to day earn. If you give the lockdown, they can go out and they can earn money. So they will be mostly going hunger. So if lockdown, Jeremy Bentham is going to lockdown, they are just ignoring the short term crisis that's happening from that condition, or from they are from the perspective they are taking. As a result, uh, as a result, we found out from different survey that most of the people are going mentally illness, mentally unhappy, and they were in hunger. There were some family problem, lots of divorce. And if you see from India and Bangladesh perspective, I'm also talking about India. There the suicide rate 25% more. So if we think about long run, and if someone died, what will be happen to him, whether they are in the long run happiness or short term happiness, they are died. So this theory doesn't apply to them. So, and if you think about that, maximum if the lockdown we are talking about for maximum benefit or maximum numbers benefit, we are finding out that maximum number are middle class, only the minority number are okay in this COVID-19. So if you think that, this will give a dilemma in this perspective, and that's it.
Hello everyone, my name is Sajeed Hasan. Currently I am from the Black University Economics Department. I am going to share my insights on utilitarianism theory as per my economics perspective. So let's begin. Jeremy Bentham, Bentham's utilitarianism teaches us that actions should be judged by their ability to create the greatest number for the greatest happiness. Well, this flexibility, situational approach allows for tailored decisions, increase inconsistency, and potential harm without a guiding framework of rules. Take the COVID-19 example. Okay, what happened during the COVID period? Governments had to balance saving lives with preserving economic stability. Some countries like New Zealand prioritize strict rules to protect public health, while some countries like Sweden maintain economic freedom. Both approaches illustrate the strengths and challenges of utilitarian thinking. Outcomes depend on the values we prioritize. This saved our livelihoods protected. Human beings need rules to ensure fairness. Okay, so what do we understand this case study? Countries like New Zealand are saving their lives because they are more priority, or they are maximizing the well-being of their citizens. And other countries like Sweden, they are maximizing the economic stability of their citizens. So what do we understand? That human beings need rules to ensure fairness and protect the vulnerable, just as markets need regulations to prevent exploitation. Yet adaptability remains crucial, navigating unique situations. The lessons. Morality, like economics, thrives on balance of foundation rules, complemented by the flexibility to act wisely in context. Thank you for my speech.
Hello everyone, my name is Afia Ibnath Borni, and I'm a law student at Bragg School of Law. I'm really excited to be here on this podcast to talk about an important ethical concept, Jeremy Bentham's act, utilitarianism, and how it shapes our understanding of law, morality, and justice. As a young law student, I believe it's crucial to think about the principles that influence how we define right and wrong. Jeremy Bentham's act utilitarianism connects happiness to doing what is best and suffering to doing what is worst. It looks at consequences of our actions, meaning that whether something is right or wrong depends on its outcome. The key idea is simple. We should aim to do the greatest good for the greatest number of people. While the principle is noble, applying it in real-world legal systems can be tricky. It brings up questions about whether strict rules are needed or if we should have more flexibility in dealing with human behavior. One of the key elements of Bentham's philosophy is what we call the hedonic calculus. This is essentially a tool that helps us measure the potential happiness or pain an action may cause. In many ways, it's a useful guide because it focuses on the results of actions. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, lockdowns were put in place to protect the majority and save lives. This utilitarian approach worked in some ways but has weaknesses. It focuses mainly on outcomes, ignoring the emotional and social impacts on individuals. For example, the lockdown helped reduce the virus spread, but they also delayed children's development and caused loneliness among the elderly. These emotional costs are hard to measure but were significant, which shows how the calculus can fail to capture the complexities of human experience. As aspiring lawyers, it's important for us to balance the law with moral integrity. While laws guide us, they don't always account for every possible situation. Lawyers must ensure that decisions respect human dignity, even when following strict rules. For instance, if a law harms a vulnerable group, we need to speak up and advocate for fairness. During the pandemic, we saw how applying a strict utilitarian approach led to some unjust outcomes. Lockdowns aimed to protect the majority but disproportionately harmed vulnerable groups. Children missed out on education and the elderly experienced isolation. These harms show that focusing only on the majority's happiness can lead to unfair treatment of the minority. Looking back, we could have done more to balance public health measures with individual rights. Instead of broad lockdowns, a more targeted approach could have been used, focusing on high-risk areas while allowing people in lower-risk areas more freedom. Additionally, providing mental health services and educational support for children would have helped reduce the negative effects. Clearer communication about the reason for these rules might have helped people better understand and accept them. Jeremy Bentham's Act Utilitarianism offers valuable insights into how we approach moral decision making, but it also reveals the challenges we face when applying it to real world situations, especially within legal systems. As future lawyers, we need to think critically about these principles and ensure that our decisions are just, fair, and compassionate. Thank you for listening.